Hi everyone, welcome to the last week of the class. So far we've gone over a lot of information and it's been great getting to know a little bit about each one of you and also about what your next plans are. I hope that you have found this class interesting and that you feel like you've gotten a lot out of it so far. I know again it's a lot of work to be putting into a pass-fail class, but just remember that everything that you're getting out of this class hopefully are things that you'll be using for the future and things that you should know anyway. I wanted to give you a couple of housekeeping items for this last week. So as mentioned in the module, I am going to be gone this Tuesday through actually Sunday of this last week of class away to leadership camp, and that's up in Camp Mira Vista. So I actually won't have reception or contact to my email until late in the evenings, probably around 11 o'clock at night. So I'll try to check my email every night that I'm there, but it'll be brief contact with all of you during that time. Please know that you can always send me an email, but that you can also make an appointment with one of the career counselors. We have 2 career counselors who will be on staff during this last week. You can always make an appointment with them through Wildcat Careers, or feel free to email or contact them. The 2 that will be in the office this next week, or this coming week right now, will be Amanda Temple and Rhiannon Newt, and I've let both of them know that the folks from this class may be contacting them if they've got questions about resumes or cover letters or anything in addition to that. Know that you always have access to us after this class as well. But you can, I know some of you are in the local area, feel free to make an appointment with them to have them go over your resumes or cover letters again or any other questions you may have. Interview tips, things along those lines. You can also make an appointment with one of them and send them an email and let them know if you'd like to do it over the phone. And if you want to do an appointment over the phone with them to have them go over another draft of your cover letter or resume, just let them know and email those things to them. So again, you still have access, even though I'll be out of reception area, you still have access to the other career counselors during this next week. A couple other things that came up. I just reviewed most of your resumes and cover letters, and it seemed like you all did a really good job with your cover letters, but had a lot more struggles with the resumes, which is pretty common. So I want to go more in detail to what a good resume should look like and a little bit about cover letters as well. And that was probably my fault for not giving you as much detail as I probably should have in those areas. So on our UNH Career Center page, which we've gone to many times at this point, under Career Guide, when you click on Career Guide, I'm going to start with cover letters just because I have a little less to talk to you about with the cover letter, since most of you seem to get the hang of it. But what we say is that your resume is the who, what, when, and where. It gives you the basic information. Your cover letter is the why, and that gives more detailed information to an employer. Most employers are going to review your resume first. If they feel that you meet the qualifications that they're looking for within your resume, then they'll review your cover letter. If you don't, a lot of them won't even get to your cover letter. So typically your cover letter they review that after they review your resume. But let's just talk about cover letter really quick. I'm going to pull up a cover letter sample so I can just point out a few things, and most of you seemed to get this pretty well, but I just wanted to show this to you. This information up here at the top where you can see Amy Jobs and our contact information should be the same layout and format, font, everything that you have on the top of your resume, so that an employer can match your resume with your cover letter. So this part should look exactly the same as what you have on top of your on your resume. Also include your LinkedIn profile here. Since you created it for this class already, that's a great thing to have on there. A few of you forgot, you just maybe put HR manager, and I know some of you are just making up a position to use this as an example. Just include a name, and you can include a fake name for now, but when you do this for real, make sure that you find out who that person is that you should be sending the letter to. Most of the time, it will be on their website. You'll be able to find out who their hiring manager is. If you can't find that information, contact the company, let them know that you're applying to that specific position, and ask them who you should address this cover letter to. Some companies, this is their way of weeding out people. If you just write, "Dear Hiring Committee," and you don't put an actual person's name in, they won't review it. So it's really important that you try your best to find a specific person's name. Again, you'll have "Dear Mr. or Miss" under here. Most of you got this part really well. Typically it's 3 paragraphs long. Your first paragraph is the intro, and that's where you should describe, I'm interested in applying to name the position, at which company, and where you found out about it. So Indeed.com, or I heard about it through this specific person through your company. It's also where you want to list your year in school, your UNH major, that you're going to school at UNH, and 1 or 2 sentences about why you're interested in that team. The middle paragraph is, why do you fit the job description? And so it's important that when you're doing this for real, that you have the job description next to you and you're typing out that middle paragraph explaining how you meet each of those qualifications. So let's say that the company says, we're looking for someone who has a bachelor's degree in psychology, 1 year of related experience, strong customer service skills, Microsoft Word experience. Make sure that you talk about each of those things in that middle paragraph and give specific examples. So through my sales representative position at Target, I gained strong customer service skills, and kind of go into more detail. So it's a great way to bring up your past experience and, again, how you meet those qualifications. And then the last paragraph is only a couple sentences long. Most of you did fine with this. It's just a quick wrap up, thanking them for their time and letting them know what you plan to do as follow-up. And then end it sincerely with your name at the bottom. So that's the cover letter. Now let's go more into resume. This is where it looked like more of you struggled with the resume piece. Again, that's pretty common. So with resumes, the hard part is there is no perfect resume. There is no standard format for a resume. You could bring a resume in to multiple people and they're all going to give you a different suggestion. There are some things that we say you should all have, some things that are pretty standard on resumes, and I want to go over and talk to you about those. Now, most employers only spend 20 to 30 seconds reviewing a resume, so it needs to be concise information, bulleted points as much as possible. You don't need to just put everything under the sun you can possibly think about on a resume. You want to make sure it's relevant, related experience. For all of you, your resume should be 1 full page. If you're struggling to get a full page, think about clubs and organizations you can add on there, a few extra bullet points. Think about your spacing, things along those lines. There were a couple of you that went just beyond 1 page, so narrow your margins down and try to fit everything onto that 1 page. But let me go over with you a sample that I think is going to be really helpful, and I referenced this a lot in your comments that I wrote to you on your rough draft. Start with this resume starter template right here. Now, I suggest that students this is more of a, we should say, starter example, because it's not an actual template where you're inputting information into a template. I tell students not to do an actual resume template because it's going to lock you into that formatting, and that can be tricky to change later on. But so let's pull up this starter example. So up here at the top, this is where you'll have your contact information. Note that they don't write address, phone, email. We know that this is your phone number. We know this is your email, so you don't need to title it email, phone. Underneath this, since we did create a LinkedIn profile for this class, you can list that underneath, and you can just put LinkedIn : /IN/ and the last part. Because it's LinkedIn, we know that it's http / www. We know that part. I also put a video in here, multiple places when talking about LinkedIn, on how to change that website link so that it's just your name or parts of your name. So refer to that if you need to narrow down your web page. The professional summary part is something you don't have to put on there. About half of you did and about half of you didn't. But this is a great way to just bullet point some of your technical skills that you have, some of your soft skills. So working with people, strong communication, things along those lines, any languages that you speak, and some of your selling points on there. So some of you have like a skills section at the bottom. It would be better to put that as professional summary at the top. Others of you had objective. That used to be something that was really popular to put on a resume. That's kind of gone by the wayside, and the reason is an objective said seeking employment in the area of, well, yeah, obviously that's what you're seeking employment in. You're applying for that job. So we've decided as a kind of career world in the broader region that the objective part isn't as beneficial as having a professional summary. After professional summary, or if you decide not to do a professional summary, the first thing that we should see after that point is education. So some of you had education closer to the bottom because you're all recent grads or are going to be graduating soon. Education should come up at the top. You can see an example here of how to write this out. So having what your degree is in and any minors. I suggest instead of putting the GPA right here, if it's a GPA that's a 3.0 or above, it should be listed on your resume. If it's below a 3.0, don't put it on your resume, but you may be asked to explain why it's not on your resume should it come to an interview. I suggest if it's a good resume, students actually list it over here underneath where your expected graduation date is. So graduation date should be written like this: expected, the month and the year that you plan to graduate. Then you have UNH under here. I tell students put UNH in the parentheses right after that point, just because you may be referencing UNH later on and then you don't have to write out UNH. You can just, or University of New Hampshire, you can just write UNH, comma, Durham, New Hampshire, because there are multiple locations for our campus. And then any scholarships or anything else that you want to list under there. Some of you have put relevant courses, that's okay too. Now for the experience part, you can have your experience written in multiple ways. Here you can see that a student has related experience, campus involvement and leadership, and volunteer experience. A couple of you have made some suggestions that you might have related experience, and then you may have additional experience. So related experience is anything that has to do with that specific job you're applying to. So right now, your related experience may be very dependent on the kinds of jobs you plan to apply to. So, for example, I know a lot of you are psychology majors, so you may have done a psychology project or a capstone or done some lab research or anything like that. That can all be related experience depending on the kind of jobs you want to work in. I know a few of you have talked about wanting to work with children, so if you have nanny experience or volunteer time at a school setting, that would be related experience. But the reason that we have related experience is even if you did it 4 years ago and you've had more recent experience, that experience that you had 4 years ago is going to come up closer to the top because it's in the related area. I hope that makes sense. So the way that you should have all of your experiences written out is your title. What was your job title? Who did you work for? The city and the state. For those of you who had nanny or babysitter, you can just put nanny. You don't need to write a company name or the family name, and then just have city and state. And your dates should go over here. Notice the dates are lined up nice and even along this right-hand side here. That helps to make it more organized. Also note that there's a line that goes all the way across here. That just helps define each section out a little bit. So when someone's only spending 20 to 30 seconds, they can easily see those different sections. Then you can have additional experience with other jobs that might not be related to the kinds of positions you're looking or applying to. You can have campus involvement, volunteer experience, things along those lines down there. Again, you don't need to put references at the bottom. If they ask you for a reference, sometimes that goes along with an application. Sometimes they'll ask you for 3 references in addition to your resume and cover letter. If they do so, just put that on a separate page. You don't need to say anything about references on the bottom of your resume. I hope those tips help all of you out. Please use this as a sample to see the formatting and the layout. I tried to put as many notes as possible for all of you on your rough drafts, but I think actually pointing all of this out will be helpful for all of you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.